Hello everyone, it's Themepark Avenue, I'm Eric, beginning by saying thank you for 15,000 subscribers. To celebrate this milestone, I'm doing a pretty major and long overdue list. The top 10 theme parks / amusement parks that I've visited. I have now been to 58 parks around the world, 46 of which are in the US. And since I've been to the majority of major parks in the US, and far from the majority internationally, I am only going to be talking about the top 10 parks in the US that I've been to, mostly talking about my own experiences. That said, I have not been to all of these parks extremely recently, so some things have changed at them. So I will make this a combination of my personal ranking and a travel guide for any of you planning trips to US parks. Also, there are so many great parks, but I'm not going to do any honorable mentions here because we'd be here all day. I know what the biggest omission for most of you is going to be, and you're welcome to comment that. But for now, let's just focus on the top 10 theme parks in the US. Starting with number 10, Holiday World in Santa Claus, Indiana. This park is probably the least known of the ones on the list, but it is great. A truly underrated experience with so much going for it. For me, roller coasters are the most important thing at a theme park, and while the quantity is not that notable here, with a total of 6 coasters, what they do have is certainly a great start. They have a launched B&M wing coaster in Thunderbird, which is a super fun and intense experience, and you also have the best collection of wooden coasters possibly anywhere on Earth. You have the Raven, as a somewhat short but very scenic and very airtime-filled wooden coaster, the Legend, which should have been on my top 25 coasters list, I can't believe I forgot to put it on there, and the Voyage, which is a grand, sweeping roller coaster, and perhaps one of the greatest masterpieces in wooden coaster engineering ever. Unbelievable 3 wooden coasters. And since my last visit, they opened the very charming Good Gravy, a family boomerang coaster that everybody loves for that name. And speaking of charm, this park's atmosphere is unbeatable. While atmosphere is a quality that's very hard to describe, the way I feel when walking around Holiday World is just something else. I love that you're in a very small, not super developed area, and when you're walking around the park you sometimes get very nice views of surrounding forest or farmland. The park feels like it's a part of the local community. It's so friendly, the staff is top-notch, nothing feels transactional about the park. You don't feel like you're just there to ride the rides, which is a common complaint for a lot of amusement parks in the US. You don't just go in, do some of the stuff, and get out. Just being here is pleasant. And it's a great park with great value, particularly for the very unique experience of the Pepsi Oasis. Simply put, the Pepsi Oasis is free soda fountains. Soft drinks here are free of charge. You just walk up with your small cup, you get whatever drink you want, and boom, you're on your way. Other parks could take notes from this very efficient soft drink system, even if they likely would not offer free soft drinks. But even parks that have Coke Freestyle machines don't run nearly as well as this one. As an additional bonus, while I have not been to Splash and Safari, the water park included with admission, it is renowned as one of the very best in America, so if you like water parks, you should definitely find some time to go. Overall, Holiday World is the smallest park on this list in many ways, but if being bigger meant it would have any less charm, then I love the park just the way it is, and even if it's not necessarily the most well-known, I knew it was going to make my top 10. Number 9 is Six Flags Great Adventure in Jackson, New Jersey. This one on a revisit could move down the list, but my last visits were in 2023. For those who don't know, the end of 2024 saw the demolition of King Ka, the tallest roller coaster in the world, and my personal favorite of the park. We also lost Zumanjaro Drop of Doom, Green Lantern, Parachute Tower, Twister, and somehow more. It's crazy, but at the very least, the park still has quite a bit to do. In terms of roller coasters, you have a variety. I've talked about how stacked this lineup is, and even without King Ka, you still have 4 great B&M roller coasters, you have a great RMC single rail and Jersey Devil, a decent amount of family coasters, and one of the most acclaimed wooden roller coasters in the world is in El Toro, which does have one of the best starts of any ride I've ever done. And this park is simply giant. Walking around here, there is quite a bit to enjoy. Movie Town is a pretty interesting looking area, Golden Kingdom's a lot of fun with the very nice, somewhat jungle theme, and even getting to see a bit of a lake view behind Joker. It's all pretty great. It is a shame that we lost so much, but at the very least, there are some things that are probably never going, such as the Wild Safari, which is a bit of an upcharge, but is still a very major part of Great Adventure, where you can drive along a safari seeing tons of animals, and they do have some animal exhibits in the park. Another big plus for Great Adventure is its operations. The Legacy Six Flags chain was notorious for having very slow-moving lines, and generally not being super well run and managed. Great Adventure was by far the best in the chain, and one of the best in the country. On some of the days I went, there were very few people. It was even really raining one day. And yet, they were still running 3 trains in every ride, getting things flying through, to the point where I almost never had to wait for anything. And it was awesome. Honestly, that rainy day is one of the best I've had at any theme park ever. Getting to experience Kingda Ka right before the rain, and El Toro during the rain, is somewhat painful, but there was just something so fun about that day. That day is among my favorites I've had at any amusement park, and now we really need to discuss just how good Kingda Ka and Zumanjaro were. An unbeatable 1-2 punch of rides at this park, Kingda Ka was a record-breaking roller coaster and maybe the most intense I've experienced. It builds up so much speed and gives a crazy adrenaline rush that I loved every single time. And Zumanjaro was a drop tower built underneath Kingda Ka, and when timed right, you could watch Kingda Ka go up the structure and you could feel things shake a little bit around you. That's terrifying, but it's an awesome experience. And the fact that these 2 rides are gone is somewhat devastating. And the fact that the operations might be a little worse now that Flash Vertical Velocity, sometimes nicknamed Flash Minimal Capacity, is not the fastest moving line-wise. This does all mean Great Adventure might move down the list. However, even if I'm a little stuck in the past on this one, my 2022 and 2023 trips to Great Adventure are some of the best I've ever had, and therefore, it had to make the list. Number 8 is Six Flags Great America in Gurnee, Illinois, the best of the Legacy Six Flags parks. This one, Six Flags wise, had top tier atmosphere. It's not too far off from Holiday World in a sense. There was just something so friendly about the place. I feel there's a very strong local community at a lot of theme parks, but this one kind of takes the cake, where I struck up conversation with way more people than I usually do in line. I'm not really sure how it happened. There was just something different about Great America. The employees were great too. The funniest that I've seen at any Six Flags park, maybe at any park in general. And that does add to the experience more than I used to realize. So that's a great start for Great America. Another great thing about it is its insane roller coaster lineup. There are 10 roller coasters here I would consider great. My favorite is the super adventurous B&M Hypercoaster Raging Bull. Then you also have 3 other fantastic B&Ms. You have the Launch Coaster Max Force, the excellent RMC Wooden Coaster Goliath, 2 other major wooden coasters, other staples of Six Flags parks, and even the classic family coaster Whizzer are all fantastic. And we will be getting one more great coaster soon in Wrath of Rakshasa, a B&M dive coaster. This is all fantastic. I don't know if any other Six Flags park, maybe any other park on this list, has that quantity of truly great roller coasters. The biggest issue with the park experience is the general lack of non-roller coasters. There are others, but they're generally not super spectacular. They're working on other thrilling flat rides, but as is right now, the park is run well, very well kept, and you often hear have a Six Flags day when you go to any Six Flags park. And if all Six Flags days were this good, I think the chain would be a lot more respected amongst roller coaster enthusiasts. Number 7 is Hershey Park in Hershey, Pennsylvania. See, I don't hate this park. Hershey's a park I've done a few videos on before, and I've gotten comments from the very loyal fan base, saying it's perfect and that I'm wrong to dislike anything about it. These are true comments I've seen, but the real truth is, I'm not wrong about that. It's not a perfect park. it has the worst operations maybe on the entire list. Wildcats Revenge is the only efficiently run roller coaster on here, and in my 2022 visit, that took its toll. There were insanely long lines for pretty much everything, and it's a very difficult park to have a great experience in on a super crowded day like that. That said, it's not the only park like that, and we'll get to that later. So the operations are an issue. However, this is a positive list, and that's really all I have to talk about, because yes, this park is otherwise stellar, hence it being on my top 10 theme parks list. There are so many great rides here, to the point that many cases, one day, even on not super crowded days, might not be enough to get to do everything you want to. So even when the park's not all that crowded, I think 2 days is good. 2 days is sometimes necessary, but 2 days is definitely worthwhile because of how much you can do here. But what exactly can you do? Well, first of all, there are 14 roller coasters, including my third favorite roller coaster ever, Wildcats Revenge. The best I've talked about so far. With utterly brutal forces and absolutely ripping you out of your seat airtime. And if that's the sort of thrill that you like on a roller coaster, I think you'll love the ride too. They also have the underrated B&M hypercoaster Candymonium, 2 great Intamins, Sky Rush, a good wooden coaster in Lightning Racer, a more classic family wooden coaster in Comet, the B&M Invert Great Bear, a good amount of true family coasters, and so on and so forth. They also have flat rides, not generally standout best in the world, but they are getting a new Screamin' Swing called Twizzler Twisted Gravity that I think looks fantastic. They also have an excellent monorail, frankly one of my favorite rides in the park. The way you go outside of the park and get a bit of a view of the factory and also Zoo America is so cool. Additionally, Zoo America itself, not the finest zoo in America, but you do still have plenty of animal exhibits with plenty of opportunities to see animals and learn. Then there's Hershey's Chocolate World, which is outside of the park, but it's free with parking, including the Factory Tour Dark Ride, which is an awesome one with a banger song. You have a water park included with entry, featuring the Breaker's Edge water coaster. There are good small flat rides like Howler and Mixed, and an atrocious dark ride in Reese's Cup Fusion. That's the worst shooting dark ride I've ever experienced. But other than that, it's just great experience after great experience. Hershey Park is a true destination park. Definitely one of the best in the US. And while it's not number 1 on my list like it would be for many people, I can definitely get behind it being number 1 for anybody. Number 6 is Universal's Islands of Adventure in Orlando, Florida. This is possibly the best park on the list, and it's certainly the most famous. You won't find any Disney parks on this list, due to me not having been to any in a long time. But Islands of Adventure is beyond well-rounded and almost perfect in every regard. Let's start with something not roller coaster based, as even though that's what I prioritize most, it's important to recognize just how great the other stuff at this park is. The dark rides are important. They're overall good, and for me, The Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man is the best dark ride I've ever done. Unbelievable engineering, and a pure fun experience. The 3 water rides at this park also are unbelievable. They frankly might be the top 3 water rides I've ever done. Dudley Do-Right's my personal favorite, but Popeyes and Jurassic Park are simply fantastic as well. You also have a flat ride here in Doctor Doom's Fearfall, there are numerous mild family rides, and there are 3 great roller coasters. One, Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure, is a favorite coaster of many, due to its elaborate theming and great atmosphere. Then there's Hulk, which is not really themed as much, but has a killer soundtrack and unbelievable intensity for pretty much any roller coaster. And then there's Jurassic World Velocicoaster, a sort of mix of the two. With gorgeous theming and wild thrills, Velocicoaster is one of my absolute favorite theme park attractions I've ever done. Now to talk about the theming. Definitely the best on the list. Every land is distinct and incredibly stylish. The most notable one's probably Hogsmeade, the original Wizarding World of Harry Potter, and it looks beautiful, sucking you into a completely different world with minor details like the snow on the roofs being one of my favorite things, honestly. But even the lands that aren't as well regarded, things like Toon Lagoon being sorta outdated, or Marvel Superhero Island not really being what people think of when they think of Marvel anymore, still look great, and have so many fun inspired bits within them that I can't help but love them all. And the way the music changes between the lands is among the best details in pretty much any park. No other quite masters it like Islands of Adventure. And the way the lands are centered around the lake not only makes the park easily navigable, but also provides some of the most photogenic areas of any theme park. You can be on one side, looking toward multiple lands, and it just works so well. The park is not huge in terms of the walking distance, but it feels grand at the same time. It's the perfect mix of accessibility and immersion. For operations, it's top-notch. Universal does much better than a Six Flags in general, and even though this park can certainly be busy, I have found it much more manageable even than some of the other parks I've talked about so far, despite being by far the most visited. There are also other things the park is renowned for, things like the food, for example. I find butterbeer a little overrated, but that's really a very small thing. This park is near perfect. The only reason it can't go higher on this list is that it's just not my cup of tea. I love the rides here, but I like roller coasters more than dark rides by a long shot in general. Spider-Man is really the only dark ride I've ever been on that I think competes with the best roller coasters I've done. So while Forbidden Journey might be better than every roller coaster ever for a lot of people, I don't quite feel the same way. So for that reason, while the park is brilliant and has such a great vision that it sticks to, and it doesn't feel as corporate as some other really major parks do, it's just not one that I love as much as the top 5 parks personally, so it does sit at number 6, but once again, it's a very worthy number 1 for anybody else. Number 5 is Busch Gardens Tampa Bay in Tampa, Florida. This is my home park. I briefly preferred Islands of Adventure, and then Iron Gwazi opened. Iron Gwazi is an RMC hybrid coaster, well over 200 feet tall, providing some of the best moments of any roller coaster, and for my money, it's the best roller coaster and best theme park attraction I've ever done. And it's not the only great roller coaster here. You have 3 great thrilling B&M roller coasters, the very well-liked Cheetah Hunt, a strong lineup of family coasters, and Tigers is there too, I guess. All of the roller coasters look stellar here. Just walking around seeing the great color schemes, the nice environments they're put in, they're all fantastic. Whether it's their scope or their theming, Busch Gardens has great presentation for its rides, providing a bit of a balance of the best of Islands of Adventure and the best of a Six Flags park. The other rides are not great in quantity, but the quality is quite strong. Serengeti Railway is a great train ride through the main nature area of Busch Gardens Tampa. Falcon's Fury is currently the best dark ride in the world as far as I know. The tilting is simply something else. And Serengeti Flyer is a great scream and swing flat ride. This is not as well-rounded of a collection as Islands of Adventure's non-coasters, but they are generally a little more my style, so that does help here. And there is more to enjoy in Busch Gardens Tampa, because just walking around here, I love. The park has a very regional park atmosphere. It doesn't feel like a destination park, and that honestly helps it. It makes it feel closer to Holiday World. I love just being in this park. And one of the main things I love walking through is the several zoological trails. Focus on showing the animals and teaching the guests about them. Things like Mayambi Reserve and Edge of Africa are not like anything I've done in really any other park besides Animal Kingdom, which once again has been way too long so it couldn't make the list. The theming is great, the rides are photogenic. While yes, Islands of Adventure is definitely a more impressive park to walk around, I find Busch Gardens Tampa just as pleasant. Maybe nostalgia's talking, but a mix of having some of the best rides ever built, and some of the best atmosphere of any amusement park, I think it is definitely in my top 5 in the US. Number 4 is Busch Gardens Williamsburg in Williamsburg, Virginia. The sister park to number 5 on the list, I recently did a whole comparison of the two Busch Gardens parks, and you should definitely check that out. On this list, it wins by a small margin. The roller coaster lineup is slightly weaker, but you still have plenty going for it. Pantheon is a multi-launch coaster, while not as good as Velocicoaster, is in my top 25 roller coasters, so a very strong number 1 at the park. There's not a single bad roller coaster here, quite a good family coaster lineup, other intense B&M roller coasters like Busch Gardens Tampa has, and they're building a new one in Wolf's Revenge, more family focused, but that'll help extend the depth of the park lineup, making it appeal to all ages. There are other rides here, higher in quantity than Busch Gardens Tampa, and the best of them being the Busch Gardens Railway, which might actually be my favorite non-roller coaster in the US. It's fantastic, going around this gorgeous park, getting some of the best views you'll ever get in any theme park, period. There are not as many animals as Busch Gardens Tampa, not even close, but the park is notably more pleasant to walk around, even compared to Islands of Adventure. The theming is stellar, and the location of the park is unbeatable. Surrounded by history, not far from the gorgeous James River, and the best photo opportunities as I mentioned. Add on to that some great food, and occasionally great operations, probably better than Busch Gardens Tampa as a whole, and you have a combination of the roller coasters of Busch Gardens Tampa, the appearance of Islands of Adventure, and the atmosphere of Holiday World. This park rocks, and it was kind of close to top 3, but truly, the top 3 on this list are in a league of their own, and ordering them was borderline impossible. I know there are super fans for all 3 of these parks, and in a way, I'm a super fan of all of them. They are so good, and I truly hope no one is too upset if their favorite park is only ranked 3rd out of the nearly 50 contenders for the list, and also the dozens if not hundreds of other parks that definitely would not have made the list. So with all of that out of the way, number 3 is Dollywood in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. In my eyes, this is a perfect park. I had 2 days here in late 2023, and I believe 1 day is enough, but a week here is also enough. You can get everything done due to the great operations in the park, but you can also spend a super long time here without ever getting bored. Let's talk about the many things I love here. The roller coaster lineup is super strong. The family coasters here are the very best. Fire Chaser Express is a highly themed one, Dragon Flyer is super fun, and Big Bear Mountain is a family coaster so good that I think it is among the best coasters I've ever done. I would take it over Hagrid's in a heartbeat. It's just that enjoyable to me. In thrilling roller coasters, there are 5 major ones, and the 2 best make up the strongest top 2 in the country, save for one other park we'll get to later. Lightning Rod was a launch hybrid coaster when I went. The launch was an otherworldly experience, and the remainder of the ride was some of the most relentless pacing I've ever experienced. And Thunderhead is one of the best wooden coasters I've ever done. Easily could have been number 1 at this park, and yet, there are just so many great rides here, 2 of them being among the very best roller coasters, that this top 2 brings the park up quite a bit. Outside of the roller coasters, there are multiple great flat rides, most notably you have Dropline and the Barnstormer, which are similar to rides I've talked about at previous parks, but still quite great. There are multiple water rides, you have Smoky Mountains River Rampage, which I got to do and I loved, and Daredevil Falls, which I did not get to do but I thought looked great. They have a train here, it's coal-powered, and it gives you one of the best views of the park possible. There are several great family rides, with Wildwood Grove being the best kids area probably in the world, featuring Big Bear Mountain by the way. So all in all, the ride lineup for anyone, kids, adults, everything in between, is unbeatable pretty much. And then the beauty of the park is top 4 in the country for sure. You have a forested setting in the Smoky Mountains, there are distinct themed areas with great style, it all feels like one cohesive theme, sort of like Silver Dollar City in Branson, Missouri, but it's different parts of that main theme. There are so many lands to enjoy that the park feels so grand, but within each land, it's a nice quaint little area. And even lands with no rides like Craftsman Valley have so much to offer. This one you get to see a lot of somewhat authentic things like glass blowing, and there's even an eagle sanctuary here full of bald eagles, and even small areas like the eagle statue outside of Wild Eagle, and the cinnamon bread restaurant look gorgeous. There are so many great family photo spots here, and speaking of cinnamon bread, that is definitely one of the best theme park foods. It's sort of renowned as the holy grail of theme park foods amongst coaster enthusiasts, and that's for good reason, even if I prefer the twisted tail pretzels of Busch Gardens Tampa. The operations here were fantastic, the only dud in that regard being Lightning Rod having notoriously bad downtime, often being broken down. But the ride still ran well enough, and every other ride was sending trains so fast that, as I said, you can get everything done here in a day. There are stellar shows, maybe the best shows of any theme park, and the one I got to see, which was an educational bird show, was certainly an enjoyable one I don't see that often at other parks. I found so many new things to do on my second day here, things I didn't really know much about beforehand, and that's what makes this park so special. You can explore a ton of things, learn new stuff, even if you do a ton of research beforehand, you can still go in and be met with great surprises. I have so many fond memories of the park, like staying at the night for the end of the day show at Wildwood Grove, getting awesome night rides on some of the best coasters, just experiencing the variety of awesome rides, enjoying the several bits of great theming. Simply put, this park is not lacking in any area. It does everything right, and I love everything about it. My 2 days here were pretty much bliss, and they brought me more joy than nearly any other theme park I've ever visited. The rides are pure fun, traveling around the park is an adventure in its own right, and save for what I was saying about Lightning Rod's issues, this park runs as well as anything. It's a magical experience, and it's working on its most expensive ride yet, so it might get even better in the near future. Number 2 is Cedar Point in Sandusky, Ohio. Certainly number 1 for a lot of you. And it has been number 1 for so many years for many, including for me. I mean, the park is 150 years old for crying out loud. And when I first went to the park, it was definitely my favorite. And currently, the roller coaster collection is no doubt the best. There are 2 new ones coming this year that could definitely help push the park back to number 1 for me. Those being the tilt coaster Siren's Curse, first of its kind in the US, and the long-awaited and soon-to-be tallest coaster in the world, Top Thrill 2. Depending on when this video comes out, it might already be open, so things could change in the future on this list. And outside of those roller coasters, I mean, there are 2 roller coasters here in my top 5 out of well over 350, so that's a pretty good start. Steel Vengeance is my second favorite coaster to Iron Gwazi, and Millennium Force is a masterpiece of an experience, 25 years old, but still has never given me a bad ride. That is awesome. Those 2 rides are already a pretty unbeatable start. And with 4 B&M roller coasters, the incredible Intamin Launch Coaster Maverick, which is not too far below Velocicoaster, the first ever Hypercoaster Magnum XL 200, and a variety of other family coasters, this is a pretty darn great collection. The best ever, even without Top Thrill 2 or the original Top Thrill Dragster. So that's a good start. And outside of these coasters, the rides are not world class, but I love a variety of them, such as Snake River Expedition, the scenic boat ride with some fun animatronics and a very good story overall, Skyhawk, a Scream and Swing, Max Air, a pendulum ride, Windseeker, a Windseeker giving great views of the park, the Railroad, which takes you past Millennium Force and through Boneville, and of course, Cedar Downs being the greatest carousel I've ever been on. This is all fantastic, but there is more to Cedar Point than just the rides. The location is the best on this list. The view from the top of Millennium Force's lift hill. Since you're on the peninsula, you can look out to the right and see the other roller coasters, maybe look out to the left, see a few of them, look straight ahead, the expansive Lake Erie, and oftentimes Canada are before you. That is an unbeatable experience in terms of lift hills. Greatest lift hill you'll ever get. The theming of the park is not bad either. While mostly just midways and very nice looking roller coasters, but not a ton of it, you have Frontier Town, which looks fantastic. I think it's a pretty underrated area, simply full of great rides that really fit in the theme quite well overall, so I love just being in that area. It's atmospheric, and speaking of that, the park does have a very lively atmosphere. Not necessarily charming in the same way Holiday World is, but still a very enjoyable one to be in on most days. Then there's the operations. While the park is very well kept, there have been some notable maintenance and dispatch issues at the park in recent years. It has gotten especially crowded due to its status as the roller coaster capital of the world and often being considered the best park in the US, for good reason. But my last visit was very poor in the operation regard. There was a time where 9 of the 15 roller coasters were simultaneously closed. However, even on a day like that, it couldn't mask the fact that the park was still beautiful to look at. The rides that were open when they were are still the best in the world, and therefore, Cedar Point is definitely worthy of number 1 on this list. My very best visit to any theme park was definitely one of my Cedar Point trips, and maybe it is the best park in the US. But for now, number 1 is Kings Island in Mason, Ohio. Another Ohio Six Flags park, formerly Cedar Fair, but now acquired by Six Flags. Kings Island is the king. The roller coaster collection is a good step above everything on the list besides Cedar Point, and in many other regards, Kings Island does win, particularly those that most influence the guest experience. Because roller coasters, while they are the thing I look at most in the theme park, it is worth noting that a roller coaster experience is rarely over 5 minutes long. And if you're in a park for 10 hours, you're probably not going to spend much more than 2 hours on roller coasters at most. So ultimately, roller coasters kind of are just 1/5 of the experience. But still, that 1/5 is darn great at Kings Island. The top 5 is stacked. Mystic Timbers may be my favorite wooden coaster, definitely the most underrated in the US. Beast is maybe the best wooden coaster ever based on its night ride, honestly. It's generally a little weirder, but it's a classic, loved by Kings Island goers for good reason, and definitely has some of the best moments I've ever experienced. The B&M Hyper and Giga 1-2 punch here in Diamondback and Orion is also fantastic, and Banshee is the best B&M invert I've ever been on, and maybe ever will go on. And beyond that, there are other great roller coasters for all ages. While not generally great in the same way the Six Flags Great America coasters are, it's still a very strong collection to have. That top 5 is key here. But ultimately, the other 4/5 of the guest experience are what make Kings Island number 1. The operations and atmosphere are stellar. Being here at night had the same charm as Holiday World, but the same liveliness as Cedar Point. It was awesome. I love just going toward Adventure Express, riding it in the dark. The night rides here are maybe the best out there. The Beast night ride is definitely the best out there. It's awesome. And I didn't really have any big operation issues here. Banshee might have had the fastest operations I've ever seen. The ride lineup is a little weaker than Cedar Point, but mainly due to those operations, it's much easier to tackle. Crowds I don't think ever really get quite as bad here, but the operations currently are much better, and for that reason, you never really have to worry about a huge line, and I don't think 9 coasters closing at once has ever happened here, but I mean, who am I kidding? This is entirely based on my experiences. I might have gotten really unlucky with Cedar Point, and really lucky with Kings Island. But that doesn't change the fact that Kings Island did earn the top spot on this list because of how great those experiences were in 2022 and 2023. The park experience is just wonderful. Driving up to the park, that's enjoyable enough. Not quite the Cedar Point skyline, but a great beginning. Entering the park and seeing the Eiffel Tower, walking around it with a masterfully crafted layout. The best layout on the list, due to how grand the park is in size, but how well contained it still is. And then just enjoying the top-notch landscaping, and great areas like River Country, which has 3 of the best roller coasters. Kings Island has given me my favorite park experiences outside of the very best at Cedar Point, and maybe Dollywood. But with Cedar Point giving me my least favorite among these 3 parks, and Kings Island having a much stronger ride lineup than Dollywood, Kings Island is currently, maybe outdated as soon as 3 days from now, the best theme park in the United States. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please comment down below your top 10 lists and any other videos you want to see me make. Subscribe for more theme park videos. I'll see you next time.